news for the West from the studios of HTV.
Hello there, good evening. A huge search has been going on for a West Country climber lost on a Scottish mountain. Helicopters and rescue teams have been battling against Arctic conditions on Ben Nevis.
Also tonight, it's spend, spend, spend as stores lock their doors against the sales rush.
We've had to restrict entrance now because it's just got dangerous and people are still queuing. We think it's going to last all day.
And the heat is on as two of our top rugby clubs fight to beat the big drop.
Fears are growing tonight for the safety of a 53-year-old Somerset man who vanished nearly 60 hours ago on Ben Nevis near Fort William.
RAF helicopters and a relay of local rescue teams have found no trace of John Winship from Templecloud near Radstock. The operation's now being called off, and experts say if he's out in the open, he can't have survived the appalling conditions.
At first light today, rescuers were out again on the icy slopes of Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles. But despite a massive search with the help of tracker dogs and the RAF, there was no sign of John Winship. Mr. Winship from Templecloud near Radstock in Somerset went walking in the mountains on Christmas Day. He was due to meet a friend later in a car park at Glen Nevis, but failed to arrive. The massive search began.
We've had over 60 people in the last 2 days over searching for this guy over the last 2 days. We've also had 2 helicopters searching for him, and we haven't turned them up yet.
Mr. Winship is said to be an experienced climber and was well equipped for winter weather, but he had no ice equipment with him, and the weather in the area is said to be severe, with freezing temperatures overnight and snow on the high ground. Mr. Winship, a widower, had been running a mountaineering hostel near Fort William for the past 3 months. He has 2 daughters who are being comforted by friends as they wait for news of their father. But hope is fading. Rescuers believe that if Mr. Winship is still on the mountain, the chances of finding him alive are extremely small. This evening it was decided to call off the search.
I really don't know what's happened to this gentleman. All I know is that over the last 2 days, 4 rescue teams have given this their best shot.
After 3 days missing, it now seems unlikely that John Winship will be found. His family can only go on hoping. Jackie Cabler, HTV News.
Other news now, and queues started forming well before dawn in West Country high streets, and the sales rush has been going on ever since. Traders were expecting a good day, but they say they never dreamt of anything like this. Well, Derek Tedder now reports from the centre of Bristol. Derek.
Thank you, Bob. Well, we're here at the galleries in Bristol, and as you can see, it's virtually all over. Well, that is until tomorrow morning at least. Well, the clean-up operation has already begun, but first thing this morning, this place was just cram-packed full of frantic shoppers, all wanting the best deal, and many were not disappointed.
They were a people with a mission, a burning ambition to hunt out the bargains and snatch them up before someone else does. The doors are open and primeval instinct takes over. It was a jungle out there.
You seem to be spending a fortune here today. Is it all worth it?
Well, yeah, if it fits and it's good clothes.
If it fits. You have no idea whether any of this stuff fits you?
These are all the right sizes, but hopefully they will be suitable then.
So how much are you spending today?
Over £100.
Yeah?
My own money as well, so I'm saving it all up.
It's the day after Boxing Day. It's cold outside. You seem to be prepared just to save yourself 50 quid.
Well, yeah, but it's extra money, isn't it? And it takes time to save, so if you can save it, you might as well.
Half price, 3 for the price of 1, the words that attract attention. Everything must go. These people seem to be taking that literally. Yesterday, the centre of Bristol looked like a ghost town. Today, the city heaved with shoppers. After just a couple of hours, the signs were good. Customers were happy, the traders delighted.
We've had to restrict entrance now because it's just got dangerous and people are still queuing. We think it's going to last all day.
And that's just what happened.
I think we should start to think about closing the doors.
How's things on children's wear?
Yeah, all right.
Providing effective security, another aspect of the New Year's sales, which causes an enormous operational headache for those responsible.
We do draft extra people in for this operation because the first day of the sale is pretty horrendous, as you've seen this morning.
At the end of the first day, sales are up by 15% on last year. The analysts say the feel-good factor is returning. Mind you, the credit card statements haven't arrived yet.
A shopper's paradise. Well, it's been the same throughout the whole of the region, but do spare a thought for people in parts of Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. Some of the bargain hunters there had more than the queues to contend with.
It may have been the unexpected snow, it may have been post-Christmas shopping exhaustion, but at Gloucester the winter sales got off to a very slow start. Smaller high street shops didn't even open. But of the bigger stores, the busiest were those selling menswear. Shirts, jackets and trousers were to be had at bargain prices. So too were books. One store had them priced at just a penny. At Swindon, a very different shopping tale. The bargain hunters were out early, at crack of dawn, to snap up the big reductions. By daybreak, the car parks were full as shoppers made for the big stores last opened on Christmas Eve. Main targets today were electrical goods and toys, many at half price. Retailers at Swindon are already predicting record sales. The new generation of out-of-town shopping centres have also been busy wooing the bargain hunters. 10,000 eager shoppers from all over the region have been crowding the 35 stores that make up Clark's Village at Street in Somerset. Clothing and shoes are among the bargains offered for just a quarter of their normal price. Shopkeepers expect the retail rush to go on well into the new year. John Doyle, HTV News.
The till's ringing in shops across the West. Now, police are following up new leads in their hunt for the killer of teenager Louise Smith. They say the information has come from youngsters they talked to at a Christmas Eve party in the nightclub from which Louise vanished a year ago.
Good afternoon, Louise Smith Inquiry. Can I help you?
One of the dozens of calls received by police at the Louise Smith incident room. It follows an operation outside Spiral's nightclub in Yate on Christmas Eve, exactly a year after Louise was last seen alive.
Well, I'm delighted to say we've had quite a lot of new information. Some of it we knew already, some of the items we were being told we've already checked out, but there was also a lot of interesting and background information which we'll be working on, and that's encouraging.
18-year-old Louise from Chipping Sodbury was with 3 friends joining in the fun at Spiral's nightclub. She left in the early hours of Christmas morning. 8 weeks later, Louise's body was found at Barnhill Quarry, just a mile from her home. This afternoon, bargain hunters filled Yates shopping centre, but a year on, many young people remain afraid.
I wouldn't come out certainly on my own at night. I certainly making sure there was somebody with me. I definitely wouldn't come out alone.
Well, I always asking her where does she go, and she gets a bit funny about it, but I do say to her what happened to Louise can also happen to her, and the killer's still out there, isn't he?
I think people are still quite wary, especially single women, because, well, I wouldn't go anywhere on my own now, not at all.
As the people of Yate enjoy the remainder of the festive season, police say that someone somewhere knows something, and no matter how trivial, they should get in contact. Mark Gibson, HTV News, Yate.
And police forces all over Britain have been asked to help identify a young man who fell 200 feet to his death in Cheddar Gorge. Officers have little doubt he committed suicide, but he left no clue to his name and address or why he decided to take his life.
Alone and on Christmas Day, a young man fell from here to his death in the car park below. He chose the towering cliffs at High Rock to kill himself. Unusually, he left no note and carried nothing that would identify him. And 2 days after it happened, police still haven't a clue who he is. Today, the gorge was busy again as sportsmen practiced their skills and walkers rambled along the cliff tops. There were fewer people out and about on Christmas Day, but police believe someone may have given the man a lift to Cheddar, and they may hold a clue to his identity.
Normally there's something that gives us a clue as to who the people are, whether it be something they're carrying or whether they have a vehicle nearby. This is unusual in so much that we have, unfortunately, got no idea who this young gentleman was. And clearly the circumstances are very distressing, and we need to identify him so we can actually deal with it properly.
This is High Rock, the spot where the young man apparently hurled himself to his death. As the rest of the country celebrated Christmas with family and friends, it appears he took the awful decision to jump. It had been 5 years since anyone had killed themselves at Cheddar, but the Samaritans are now considering advertising their helpline at the beauty spot. Meanwhile, police are asking anyone who may recognise the man's description to call them. He was of average build and had short dark hair. He was wearing a blue round-neck football shirt with Kangol written on the front, beige jeans and brown kicker shoes. Police believe the man may have visited Cheddar in happier times, and that's why he chose to die here. It's a tragic mystery which they need the public to solve.
David Woodland, HTV News, Cheddar Gorge.
Parents are accusing developers of dragging their heels over repairs to a Gloucestershire primary school damaged by a landslip. Stroud Valley's junior school was shut in September after work on a nearby building site's believed to have caused the playground to slip downhill. Originally, it was thought the school would reopen in November. Now, parents have been told it may not be ready until next September at the earliest. No one from PRC Construction, the firm involved, was available for comment. Gloucester has a new MFI superstore again, 7 months after the original building was destroyed by fire. The new DIY store was built after the blaze in May meant the old £5 million building had to be demolished. A 17-year-old youth accused of starting the fire has been committed for trial in the new year. Well, still to come this evening on HTV News, pensioners shiver and it's cold comfort from the government.
And turning back the clock to the days of the West's black and white Christmases. We're back in just a minute.
As the UK's #1, LonPolly give more discounts on more holidays than any other travel agent. LonPolly, a better way to get away.
They've had enough of us. Time for something completely different.
There's half-price George and up to 50% off homewares. In Asda's sale, now on.
The advertising people are constantly telling me, Jack, a smile always sells.
As the UK's #1, LonPolly give more discounts on more holidays than any other travel agent. LonPolly, a better way to get away.
Hello again, welcome back. Now, pensioners groups in the West have expressed anger that the region will miss out on cold weather payments to help with heating bills.
This is despite the freezing temperatures since the weekend and the snow that's fallen in some parts of the region today. Age Concern wants the rules governing the payment to be relaxed.
For pensioners like Raymond Wood from Weston-super-Mare, these are anxious times, worrying as the temperature drops whether there'll be enough money to afford extra heating during the cold winter months.
With the wind we get in Weston, it cools you very quickly indeed, and one has to have the radiators on 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening as a rule, and this costs about £150, £170 each winter.
Today's snowfalls in Gloucestershire weren't enough to trigger cold weather payments for pensioners and others on income support. Apart from one place in Devon, the only areas to qualify, with temperatures below zero for 7 consecutive days, were in Scotland. Campaigners argue the rules mean the West rarely qualifies, and pensioners in this region suffer unduly as a result.
I'm aware that up north they have the long winters, but they've got the payments, and here our elderly are equally at risk. No payments except very occasional ones.
Good morning, Sweb Customer Service. How may I help?
However, power companies like Sweb say help is at hand for those who get into trouble with extra heating bills. As well as advice on how to stay warm, call centres like this can help with ways of spreading the cost.
If we know about their needs, or we can go out and visit them in their home, we can give them energy advice on how to save future bills, and we can sort out their present bill according to their needs.
Despite that, pensioners groups say some old folk are having to choose between heating and eating. Some argue that the wind chill factor should be taken into account when triggering cold weather payments. Bob Constantine, HTV News, Weston-super-Mare.
Anti-blood sports campaigners staged a protest against the traditional Boxing Day hunt at Laycock near Chippenham in Wiltshire. Around 100 demonstrators packed into the high street. The meet of the Avonvale foxhounds was eventually abandoned. The hunt said freezing conditions made the ground too hard for safe riding. Campaigners, meanwhile, claimed a victory for their protest. A Wiltshire family have been proudly displaying a Christmas tree that's 110 years old. The tree, which stands just 12 inches tall, was cut from green raffia paper in 1886. It's been the family of Janet Parker from Chippenham ever since.
And very smart it looks too. Now, to pictures we go now, not quite as old as that Christmas tree, mind you. As the Yuletide celebrations go on, we take another look back into the HTV News archives to see how they were spent in years gone by. Well, presents on offer included jewellery you could eat, and there was the great pursuit of course, the mistletoe kiss.
The Santa specials ran in the 60s. Here, carol singers and the Sally Army Band performed seasonal tunes beside the Christmas tree at Minehead Station. In those days, mistletoe may not have always had the success rate it has today. A few sprigs caused panic in the streets. Even with West Country shops only displaying festive items from December onwards, there was already concern that early shopping made it all too commercial.
What do they think when they see so many Father Christmases?
Well, I think they get a bit bewildered. It's too commercialised, I think. I mean, my boy asks questions. You've got to try and work things out and explain things to him, you know.
Do you think Father Christmas should be done away with?
No, I certainly don't. But I think it's brought in far too early in the season.
I mean, it's really Mummy and Daddy, isn't it?
Well, they know that, but they're hoping that it isn't, aren't they?
But isn't this just deceiving the children?
No, I don't think so. Don't we all love to be deceived, but nicely deceived?
For the one you loved, the choice back in the 70s included edible jewellery on sale at Bristol Docks.
When a young man says to his girlfriend, "You look good enough to eat, darling," he's usually exaggerating a little. But in the case of Sheila here, it's almost literally true, because Sheila's wearing the very latest edible jewellery. How about a nice crumpet down here? You could take it away and eat it straight away. A lamb chop, a marzipan bracelet, a licorice ring, a marzipan pendant, or even a nice Marmite sandwich all ready to eat. A shish kebab earring, or on the other side, a tasty carrot. And even when you kiss her hand, if I may be so bold, it's a nice chocolate. We'll just eat that one, pluck another one from your pocket, and there we are. She looks just as elegant as ever.
Christmas entertainment in 1979, and in Bristol, the panto starred John Inman and a plump Mother Goose. While at the Theatre Royal in Bath, Aladdin starred the late Leslie Crowther.
Leslie, what on earth are you doing? Pardon? Well, this is a scene in Aladdin. Shut up. This is for a scene in Aladdin at the Theatre Royal, Bath, where we worked it out sort of fairly logically that whereas we have to be like ourselves in Pekin when we're all poor and all that bit, when we have to disguise ourselves and go to Egypt to try and get Princess Belle or Droopy Draws or whatever her name is back from the wicked Uncle Abanazar who's gone to Egypt, who lives in Egypt, that we could then disguise ourselves as traditional Chinese people, your most decadent imperialism, so.
We end the film treats out of our Christmas stocking of old with the very proper and well-presented choir of West Country nurses. They reminded everyone that the emergency services stayed on duty throughout the holiday.
No prime. How tuneful that all was. Well, what about that edible jewellery?
I was shocked. You know the way that reporter delicately handled that jewellery while it was on that day. Listen, do you have any luck with the mistletoe this year?
Very bashful in their day, weren't they? Oh, much easier getting a kiss these days, Bob.
Don't you believe
anyway,
it?
moving on.
Yes, sport now, and there'll be a little seasonal goodwill between Bristol and Gloucester for Sunday's big rugby derby at the Memorial Ground. Both sides are in the wrong half of the table, and defeat could mean a very unhappy new year.
There may be no easy games these days in the top level of new professional rugby, but there never have been between these two old rivals. Gloucester had the edge in this game last January, a typical crunching derby that for much of the match was neck and neck, the sides trading penalties and tries. But nearly a year on, there's so much more at stake. Both are now in the relegation danger zone, ever since the RFU decided last week that 4 sides, not 2, will face the chop. The clubs aren't happy.
Astonishment, disappointment really, that at this stage of the season they should be changing the rules for a competition. I mean, they've known the season was going to be congested right from day one. Also, the 24 clubs in the first 2 divisions had agreed and knew exactly what the rules were, had accepted them. So I don't see why the RFU should be interfering, as it were, at this stage.
The players were running off the Christmas excesses today. At Gloucester, as at Bristol, fully aware of the importance of Sunday's game in the context of the new relegation danger.
We've got to go into the game assuming that there's a 4 down, and it's not a bad thing from the players' point of view, because they will have to, they realise the task ahead, and we've got to keep out that bottom 4 and playing Bristol in the next match, as they are 1 place below us, is obviously a key game for both sides. Bristol have the home advantage. They will need to win this one. They'll see it as one of their target matches, but if we can win it, then it's a real bonus for us.
Higher up the table, Bath are at Sale on Sunday, and it's a game Bath need to win if they're to maintain their challenge of retaining the title. So for our 3 Premier sides, an important weekend's work coming up. Not that Bristol-Gloucester derbies usually need any extra spice. Simon Whitby, HTV News, Bristol.
Well, some vital matches ahead in soccer too, with all 3 of our sides due to play tomorrow. Bristol Rovers await the verdict of a pitch inspection at 9 o'clock in the morning to see if their game against Millwall goes ahead at the Memorial Ground. Rovers are on the slide after yesterday's defeat at Bournemouth, but heading in the right direction after Boxing Day victories are Swindon Town and Bristol City.
After 4 league games without a win, City needed an early confidence booster. Paul Agostino duly provided it, his 11th goal of the season scored after 18 minutes. The home side then entered into the festive spirit, gifting the visitors a half-time lead. Ian Stevens' scrambled goal wasn't pretty, but good enough to make it 1-1. Another corner and Shrewsbury nosed in front when centre-back Thomas Nielsen squeezed the ball between keeper and post to the delight of his teammates. Sean Taylor was unlucky not to level for City when his powerful header was somehow ushered away from the Shrewsbury goal. And Taylor was again a key figure when City were awarded a penalty. The centre-back impeded inside the box. Spot kick specialist Darren Barnard confidently stepped up and dispatched the kick to make it 2-2. City's generosity almost let in Shrewsbury for a 3rd time, but Stuart Naylor's reflexes and Stevens' lack of composure prevented disaster. And the home crowd of just under 10,000 raised a real Christmas cheer when Gary Hours popped up to slam in the winner. City up to 9th and in good heart for tomorrow's trip to Preston. More trouble for Bristol Rovers, who've only managed 1 win in their last 11 league and cup matches. A solo goal from Mark Watson was sufficient to net Bournemouth the points at Dean Court. Rovers down to 15th in the table, with Millwall at home to come. Swindon gave their travelling supporters something to shout about by ending a run of 7 straight defeats away from home with victory at Portsmouth. Steve Coe making the most of a dreadful defensive blunder to score his 4th goal of the season and hoist Swindon back up into the top 10 of Division 1. Teenage keeper Aaron Flayhaven's mistake left him feeling like a Christmas pudding, but Coe and his Swindon colleagues are in much happier mood ahead of tomorrow's home match against bottom of the table Grimsby.
Well, that's the sport now. A reminder of the main stories tonight, both internationally and here in the West Country. We're joined now by Sherry. The family of a British nurse accused of murdering a colleague in Saudi Arabia say they're convinced she's innocent. Under strict Islamic law, Lucille McLaughlin and Deborah Parry could be publicly beheaded if found guilty. A search has been going on in the Scottish mountains for a missing Somerset climber. John Winship hasn't been seen since Christmas Day. And police are following up new leads in their hunt for the killer of Louise Smith. They questioned nightclubbers at Yate on Christmas Eve, the anniversary of her disappearance. And those are the headlines this Friday evening.
Tonight's weather picture has been sent in by 11-year-old Amy Rolls. Now, Amy goes to Redfield Edge Primary School in Bristol, and that weather outlook: cold and windy, sunny spells and light snow showers too. And that's it. That's Friday night's HTV News. Our late update is at a slightly different time, 10 to 11 tonight. And I hope you can join us both. We'll be here on Monday at 6:25. Till then, have a good weekend.
Whatever you do, go easy on that leftover turkey.
Yes,
goodbye.
Bye-bye.